gentlemen, from the top row, we're back. Welcome to In the Bag. How you doing today, ABB?
Good. It's been a crummy weather week here, but I feel like I've been out doing disc golf stuff more, so it's very weird. But anyway, just got to give a shout out to my to Eli. Can't say my youngest anymore, my middle. He's got a tournament this weekend. Pretty excited about that. It's going to be rainy. They did a practice. Their team did a practice round out in the rain, and I just felt their pain. That's all I could think about. Is like, it's one thing for you to do it and feel like, be like, oh man, I messed up the shot. But then your kid does it. You just feel like they're just like this, man, I feel so bad. So to all you folks playing rain out there in the hurricane weather, hang in there is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that is, I am filming today, like have a little gap in coaching today. Been a busy week on the coaching side. And so I got my first big gap today and I'm going to film. Hopefully finding a dry spot between the rain and because it's definitely not happening. I'm not filming this weekend, that's for sure.
So no.
And you know, obviously we life is a little. I want to make sure that we're bringing seriousness to the storm that's coming, so it's not just like, man, a storm's coming. Biggest bummer is we can't go play disc golf. I do not think that is a good look for us. We're hoping that everyone stays safe.
For sure.
And that the storm causes minimal damage for all of you. But it's definitely going to rain. And I don't know about y'all, but like I feel like in this fall season, at least in Alabama, you either are in like a week and a half straight of it raining every day, or you're in a week and a half of like just begging for rain because it's just so hot and the sun just continues to nail down. Yeah,
that was me last weekend. So I should probably count my blessings at some point because it is a little cooler. So it is what it is. But hey, before we jump in the episode today, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, Aura.
Have you all ever been constantly spammed by calls from spam callers and just don't know what to do about them? You try blocking them, but they keep coming in and it just gets so annoying. Well, I know one of the reasons I get so many spam calls is because big companies can't keep our data safe. Recently, AT&T revealed that nearly all of their customers' call and text records have been exposed in a massive data breach. The stolen logs also contain a record of every number AT&T customers called or texted. So even if you don't use AT&T, someone who texted you did, and then your number has been exposed. So what can you do to protect yourself? That's where Aura, the sponsor of today's video, comes in. Aura will alert me if they find my phone number or any other sensitive information has been compromised. And they give me fast fraud alerts if anyone tries to use that data to access my credit card or bank accounts. Aura does so much more to keep me and my family safe too. I also get things like transaction monitoring, a VPN, antivirus, password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance. I get this all in one app at one affordable price. What I'm most excited about is their AI-powered call assistant that picks up unknown calls on my behalf to screen them for spam and scams. The AI forwards legitimate calls to me so I don't miss any of those appointments, deliveries, and emergencies, and it protects me from harmful text messages by filtering out known spam numbers and scanning links in the message for phishing threats. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches, and if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/foundation and try your first 2 weeks free. Also link below in the description. That's aura.com/foundation. Make sure to check out Aura. Let's get into the podcast.
I hope you enjoyed that word from a sponsor.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, I'm not going to go back and refilm that. This is real. Sometimes I misspeak. I misspeak a lot. So, you know, I hope you all enjoyed. Feel free to clip that and use it. Text tone. You get a, whatever. Sponsor.
Oh, who'd you get that message from? Oh, yeah, my sponsor. It's so good. I'm here for it, y'all. Welcome to the world of creating content where when you mess up, like you're having a conversation with your significant other and you mess up, you two just get to live with that. You know,
I still get roasted. I still get roasted.
And then here it's like when we record content for the internet, you mess up and you say something like that. Congratulations. You happen to, I don't know, on the middle of a podcast say that you think two people are going to underperform, and then lo and behold, they turn out to win the whole thing.
Whoops.
But, you know, so that's everyone's like, hey, everyone should have a podcast. No, I don't think they should. And sometimes I think that myself included, we shouldn't be on podcast.
Yeah,
but
it goes back and forth.
But we have these podcasts to try to help people. And so we have a little bit of a theory
Hybrid.
episode,
Hybrid
hybrid
episode.
episode. Yeah. So we had a guest lined up. They had to cancel last minute. Totally fine. Hopefully have them on a future episode. But so Brad and I are kind of pivoting a little bit. And so in that pivot, one of the things that we wanted to talk about is I had a discussion going on yesterday that I got to be a part of. So it kind of like, Jehovah Jireh worked out. We've talked about, we did an episode, I don't know how long ago it was. It might have been the second to last time I was up there.
Yeah.
It might have been the last time I was up there because I was up there for so long. We filmed 2 episodes. But there was an episode where we talked about discs that were on the chopping block for us. And so discs that were like, I could see myself moving on from that. I could see myself changing. And I think that brings I like that idea because I think that there's always folks, like it's very rare for you to find a golfer who just really locks in and knows like, hey, this is what my bag is. I'm totally happy in it. I've been in those states before, but then it's very easy for something to shift. A bad round, difficult courses, whatever it may be.
Right.
So we all have these feelings of like wanting to move past a disc, but there's always that fear on the other side of like, what if I do actually pull up from my bag? What if I change it? A lot of times when we bring guests on in the bag, we almost are looking for gaps. It's not I think as we continue to develop, we're 120 episodes in today.
Yep. Correct.
So we're 120 episodes in. I mean, almost 3 years worth of content in terms of like guests and things like that. So I think that we'll end up having to do this more reductionary take as we continue forward.
Right.
But when you pull something out or when you add something that's a gap, it's much easier than like, this, and this all do the same thing. So like, let's talk about that and let's pull one of them out because what if I'm missing it? We've given that advice before.
Right.
So what we want to do, if you're down, ABB, is we're going to look at Brad's bag for a little bit as a guest and sort of try the reductionary method looking at, because he's got 2 extremely congested areas.
Yes.
And so we're looking at those 2 extremely congested areas. And then I kind of want to pivot to the backside for those of you who have discs that are on the chopping block. And Brad and I are going to talk about the 3 discs that have left our bag most recently and what we replace them with, so that you get the whole picture of the breakup to love story on the other side.
Right.
Because for me, at least, 3 vastly different reasons that discs have left my bag. And so,
yeah. And I think my bag right now in its current state really lends itself to that conversation, Robbie, because you all see it. We're going to put this back up on the screen for you this week. So you can also check the link in the description to Disc RPM, but there's definitely spots on my bag where stuff is either already left and I'm trying new things out and trying to pick something for that area, or something has kind of replaced it. So it newly replaced it. So I think it'll be a very natural transition for us there, Robbie. So if we want to jump into my bag, I'll let you kind of carry it. I know you're talking about some congestion, and I feel it a lot on the course, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. So my initial like look of congestion would be this overstable, neutral to overstable mid-range slot, where you've got 2 zones, a Quake, a Bobcat, 2 hexes. I think the origin and the uplink makes sense to me. Those feel like almost very compatible with one another, because you have the uplink so far on one side, and then you have the origin is like a nice, still easier turnover. Even though the hex and the origin have the same flight numbers, we all know that's just simply not true.
No.
Like they don't. Yeah, I think the origin fly. The hex might be the best 5.5 -1.1, like off the shelf. Almost all of them fly like that. Like even the overstable hexes are not far off of that flight pattern. Which is why the hex actually never earned a spot in my bag, because it nails that so much. The Buzz, while the most iconic of that lineup of that flight number, the buzz is just like, I feel like you have to know the right plastics in order to know which ones are the 5.5 minus ones, 1.1s.
Yeah.
Because
There's so much
most of them are like
variation.
5.502s, or they're like 5.5 negative 10s or something like that.
Yeah.
So Origin, if I were putting flight numbers on an Origin, I really do think I would call it a 5.5 minus 20.
I alter mine to be 5.5 negative 10.
Okay.
To be,
yeah.
that's what. So just to kind of give the picture of where it probably actually lands in my bag, it's probably getting closer to that -2, Robbie. And I don't know if it's more of like I am getting a little more distance. So I think I'm getting a little bit more rotation, and I'm really feeling that turn from the Origin now. Or it's getting beat in. So I think both of those things are coming into play.
Yeah. So talk to me about, is that area that I mentioned, like the Quakes and the Bobcats, and then the Hexes kind of stacked on each other. The Hexes are probably like the fringe of that. So the reason I bring the Hexes into the conversation is because I want to know if that is the edge of the traffic jam, that's the rubbernecker that is possibly slowing other things down. Is rubbernecking, is that like a common term? Do people know what that means?
I have no clue what that means.
Okay. See, there's context.
Yeah.
Rubbernecking is when you're driving down the road and there's a traffic accident or something on the other
and you're
side.
like looking at it as you go by.
Just, rubbernecking is what creates more traffic, because although the accident's on the other side and it has no effect on your side of the freeway whatsoever, because people are looking over, rubbernecking. So I wonder if the Hex, like it being the edge of it.
Yeah, the fission hex specifically, that blue one, Robbie. It says neutron. I don't know why it's fission. I'll change that right now while I'm talking. But
baby.
So this is my fission one. So it didn't used to be this way, but I mean, as time has gone on, it's gotten beaten in. I'm throwing a little bit better. That fission hex is like pushing into the Origin slot. The Origin slot is pushing a little bit right, so it's becoming a little bit more equidistant between fission hex, Origin, uplink. Where that fission hex started for me was more toward like where a typical hex is going to be, that true -1.1. It had a little stability at the end. If I gave it more Hyzer, it would kind of cover that gap between like my Eclipse hex and the Quake. But now that fission hex is kind of like hitting more toward just like the dead straight to slightly understable side, that's kind of where it's ending, and it's actually causes the problem. It's like put up a wall right there, and I'm kind of getting lost between that fission hex and the Quake, which I'm really comfortable with the Quake. So really that Bobcat's in there right now, because the Eclipse hex I almost never throw, because it's just not quite what I would want that disc slot to be. Like I want something like slightly overstable that I can still throw pretty far.
Yeah.
Because the Quake is really, this particular like Globe Pro line Quake that I have, the Midnight Flyer, is really beefy, but it has a lot of glide for me, so I still can throw it pretty far. It's not a 5.3 at all for me. It's probably like more like a 5.4, but I feel like I can still throw it probably like 250, 275 if I need to, which is nice. But I want something that has that overstability that I can still throw pretty far. The hex, when I give that Eclipse hex the beans, it flips up and goes straight. So I'm kind of like struggling right there. So to answer your question, yes, like that's really and I don't throw my zones on backhand. So that's probably another problem and why that looks so congested.
Yeah. Do you throw your Quake or your Bobcat on forehand?
See, I took the Bobcat out for a while. I used to throw the Bobcat on forehand all the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it snuck back in there. You know what I mean? Because Bobcat feels good forehand and backhand for me.
Yeah. And I will say we're a little spoiled in that having the access to the Pro Bag has definitely created some additional throwing opportunities. We can't overload them. For me, on my side, what it did is it allowed me to put in a disc that is like super fun. Like I just got to add a whole new mold to the bag that has I don't need it, but man, has it added a spice of life to my rounds. Okay, so the Bobcat's back in. So if you were to say, okay, I'm trying to think, how far are we throwing the Bobcat? How far are you throwing the Bobcat and the Quake? About the same distance?
Yeah, I probably can get it's just the line that I throw it on, I guess. I don't ever try to throw the Quake like close to 275, 300. I throw that on like a 250 hole that I need to like spike Hyzer in. That's really the line I like to throw on that. Or there's a lot of wind and I need to get left on like a 250 hole. But a Bobcat I can stretch out farther.
Okay. Is it still going to fade as hard?
See, now this is a new one, so I'm not really like throwing it in a ton of scenarios yet. It's in the Royal plastic. They just released it, so it's like base plastic. So it's a little less. It's a little less understable or a little less overstable. And what I'm really hoping for is that it beats in and like that Eclipse hex is gone.
Yeah, that would be my big like. All the Quakes that I've thrown have been overstable for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, yeah, I just go back and forth on the Quake because my personal experience, but then I watched like Sully threw a Quake and that thing was beefy. Now he like specifically requested like a really beefy run of Quakes. So if your flyer ends up being beef, I got to figure out whatever plastic his little pickleball one was because that thing was so overstable. It flew more like a Justice than a Quake. Yeah, so I just think the hex, that is exactly where the hex struggled for me, was the Eclipse hex. I remember I played a tournament called Chains on the Links. It is they set up 2 temporary courses in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They do it in they do it in middle of October usually. And I remember playing that course. It was like hole 12 or something. I had this uphill 310-foot hole. And I was like, I'm just going to yam on this Eclipse hex. It's going to fly straight up there and then it's going to drop and it's going to fade. It's going to do exactly what I need it to do. And I threw it and it just went super straight, turned up the hill, and then settled, and I had like a 40-footer on a death putt. And I was like, come on, Robbie. Like, this is not what I need out of this slot. So I get that on the hexes. And it's funny because as someone who like notoriously preaches that MVP, my struggle with MVP is that they don't beat in that fast. The mold that is not Electron that I feel like beats in the fastest is Electron hexes. Yeah. Or Eclipse hexes.
Yeah. I feel that way about Envies also. I mean, I feel like they get a little bit beat in pretty quick.
Yeah. Like it's crazy because maybe it's because we expect them to start so overstable off the rip that they sort of pivot to not having that extra tick of overstability. That's kind of the excuse that I've given it. But that's the reason that I have my reactors in the bag is because, and see, I can't even say that though, because Pikachu, dude, how long has Pikachu been in my bag?
A long time. Yeah. I mean, since I had my Gengar one, my proxy. So like almost 2 years.
Yeah. So like and it's still to this day, I throw that disc and it's like, dang, that's pretty overstable. It's tough. So I don't know. I don't understand science. Yeah. But what I do understand is Frisbees. And so, yeah, I think that Hex Bobcat battle, the Bobcat initially had me worried. I did not realize that Royal is base plastic. Yeah. So I think that is a really good like sort of inclusion. And I wouldn't be shocked if that ends up like pushing it out. I would be really curious if the Bobcat ends up staying in there for a long time, how flippy the Bobcat ends up getting.
Yeah. Cause I mean, there's a world that this base plastic Bobcat could push to the straight section or that like 0-1 section. And like the hexes might go completely. That's not true. They go too far. They don't go as far as the Bobcat.
Yeah.
But that Bobcat could push over toward that like Eclipse Hex, and then I just throw another just blanking Sublime Bobcat in, because mine was really overstable and flat. And maybe it kicks the Quake out. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that, like, I'm going to be honest. I think there's a world that you end up with 3 Bobcats.
They could. I mean, yeah. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility in any way.
I think if this, I think that blue hex kind of still stays in, because it will just continue to season and get better. And at 165, like, it already wants to have a little extra turn to it and things like that. I don't think that you're going to find, outside of structural damage to a hex, I don't know that a hex is ever going to truly get to like a 5/5 -2/0 type flight. That could be me. There's hex lovers out there that are like, mine definitely does that, and happy for you. I just think that is an absolute Griffin disc if it's that flippy. So I think that the hex, and like you mentioned, it just goes so far. It puts the FD, like, it probably butts way closer to the FD than we need it to.
Sure does.
So yeah, I think that Bobcat, if it seasons in, moves to that slot. And right now, I like you said, you haven't necessarily thrown it too much. So there's a chance that it comes out and like, oh, it in base plastic actually is still just crazy overstable. And in which case, I think you're looking at a new mold to fill that slot and try to maybe pick between the Quake and the Bobcat, just on comfort and things like that. So I like that. I like that reduction area. The other side that feels a little cloudy to me is your lifts, Gorgons, and then we'll toss the ozone in there as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a feel for that area of my bag. Like, FD's locked in, right? It's probably closer to like a -1/0 right now, if I'm being honest. It has like that nice flip up and turn a little bit, like just slightly, so I can trust. It's like my line hitter, right? I kind of know how it's going to fly, and it's not going to vary too much, and I don't have to throw it super hard. I'm really struggling on that like understable fairway, understable like control driver area, if you can't tell. The Gorgons are both in there because a shot that I really realize that I need, that I don't have, is a forehand that'll flip up and ride straight before it gets stable. So I'm really trying to find a disc for my arm that does that. And now I'm throwing far. My forehand's gained like probably 50 feet of distance in the last, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months.
Let's go.
So I'm getting some, like, even my lift. So, and what's probably going to happen is that Mandalorian lift that I have is going to be flippy probably soon. Because right now I can throw it like laser beam straight with no wobble, and just pushes straight for a really long time before it gets stable. But it doesn't have like that flip up or even any turn. So that's why the Eclipse lift is over there, because it is my more like, okay, if I need to get flex a little bit, it'll give me a little flex. And then the Gorgon, I can throw first of all, the G-Star Gorgon, that one's probably just coming out. It is like deceptively flippy, even for me. It's just, I don't really throw it. I thought that was going to be the easy flip up forehand, and it actually turns. It doesn't even come back. So that's just kind of on the chopping block. And the Gorgon, I really wanted to be that flip up forehand off the shelf. And it's the weirdest thing. Like, I can get it to Hyzer flip on backhand, and I can get it to Hyzer flip to turn on backhand. On forehand, I'm really struggling. I can't get it to flip up, or I get it to like flip up and turn too much. So I can't find like the angle / power for it. It's just been a little frustrating, if I'm being honest. Totally. And then honestly, the ozone, I think the ozone goes so far. I find myself not grabbing it. And I don't know if it's just like a lack of confidence, or I don't really find, like, if I need a shot that'll like turn, I'm probably going to the FD. So I don't know. What are your thoughts after all that like rambling?
No, I'm here for it. The Gorgon's interesting to me, just from a forehanding perspective, because it very much reminds me of like the cookie and the soda with that, like the rim is just a little different. So I like the idea of forehanding that because it can have like a really clean, smooth release. Because that rim, like,
it felt really good in my hand.
Grip,
That's why I grabbed it initially.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Gorgon's sneaky good. It's even hard to say that it's sneaky at this point because I think a lot of people have understood the hype of the Gorgon. So I'm here for that. I understand on the lift. I get that, like, that one's seasoned in. If you've got the double lifts in the bag, I'm hesitant to like pull out the seasoned one. So it's almost like the Gorgon feels really good. It flies really good, but so does the lift. And so like, does the lift, knowing that like Mandalorian one, because the Mandalorian one's a long-standing disc in the bag as well.
Yeah, it's been there a while.
And so if it's there, does it continue to shift down the line and like a new lift finds its spot between the Eclipse and the
that's true
Mandalorian?
Yeah, and I think part of it was like me wanting to really be into a distance driver or control driver, to be honest. I think I had like this hope. I mean, I have the Firebird. The Firebird's straight up utility for me. Like, that's like a really flex forehand or get out of jail thumber sort of just utility, and I just like it. I like the stamp, so that's a fun disc.
You're into adjacent.
Yeah, that's true.
With the Falcon.
That's true. But I don't really throw that either. So I mean, let's just be honest. Let's call it what it is. But yeah, now for the Halloween release, there is a Proto Glow Gorgon that I really have my eye on. So I think that might be a solution to my problem, or it may just add to the problem, and I just don't need to throw the Gorgon.
Yeah. I would imagine the Proto Glow is going to end up flying closer. I think the Proto Glow is probably going to fly perfectly between your lifts.
Okay, so that might be interesting, and I'm curious to see if that will give me more distance. If I have the confidence to throw it correctly, I think I can probably throw it farther, but it's just a matter of doing it right. And you're right. I probably just need to I've put so much time into that Mandalorian lift. I probably just need to keep doing it. And I don't throw it on backhand and for literally no reason. So that also, I could just throw those on backhand too. They're already there.
Yeah.
They feel good on backhand. I just don't throw them. So that may just be the thing. I just like, hey, Gorgon, nice try. That can be something I try later, but just get rid of them completely. Because what it ends up doing is like, okay, well, I know how this Mandalorian lift flies on forehand, but I don't know, the Gorgon, I could probably get to flip and turn a little bit, and then I end up just like misthrowing. So, and I don't like that kind of confusion in there.
Yeah. And like, I think the Ozone takes more time to beat in than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
I think because their premium plastic feels on the premium Ozones feel like base.
Right.
Which a lot of people like, a lot of people enjoy. I'm one of those people. Like, I think it's pretty nice that I feel like I have a really tacky fairway driver. But once you try to beat these things in, like, you realize very quickly, nope, this is premium. Like, this is for sure premium.
Yeah.
So I just think, especially if you feel like you're rarely going to the Ozone, it's not going to season into anything. I think it's a beautiful flyer off the shelf personally. I don't think that off the shelf they're a -3 one. I think they're a -2 one, especially if you're playing at elevation. But I totally understand the marketing side of that, of like, we'd rather advertise it as flippier than it is, and that you would like be surprised rather than, oh, it's a -2 one and no one throws it because they're immediately just like, no, it's just way flippier. Ignore it.
And that probably makes more sense why I feel like it runs into my FD a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I kind of put it in that slot where like the Halo Leopard 3 was, that would like, or a Diamond even, that I want to just like either throw like a big like nose up shot that'll still turn, or flip up and just keep turning. And the Ozone really doesn't do that just out the gate. It turns, but it comes back.
Yeah. It turns if you allow it, like if you give it the chance to turn. If you throw it nose up super hard, it probably is not going to turn. But as soon as you put it in any wind whatsoever, you'll realize real fast, like, oh, nope, it does not have the beef to hang on. And that's fine. Like that's great for that shot. So yeah, it's definitely one that I think for the ozone, if you're not going to give it a chance, especially if you're looking at it to be a diamond, just let it be a diamond, because it's going to take a lot of trust and a lot of throws and a lot of time in order to get an ozone to diamond level.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the moral of the story there is like, you know, and we'll talk about this in a minute, like there's stuff coming in and out of, I've tried to make a ton of changes, but there's been some like definite, like in the mantra of like, hey, I'm not really going to change my bag that much. There's been some, I guess, pain that I felt, like both things that are in there and things that I want to be in there, that is really like this late in the year really becoming obvious. I am starting to play a little bit more than I was at the beginning of the year. So I think playing more with it and like seeing and playing different courses, I think I'm seeing some flaws and some things I miss and some pains of things I need to take out.
Yeah. No, it's an ever evolving puzzle that we try to do. And like, I mean, we didn't even mention one, but like we'll probably talk about here in the section coming up is you got this new casted disc in your bag that's taking the slot of discs that you were throwing the evaders really well. So I'm excited to hear on that side of things. So as we sort of pivot, the idea here being, what happens when you take that disc out of your bag? Why did it leave your bag? Was it a trust issue? Was it I think there's a multitude of reasons to sort of bring a disc out of your bag. And so like, I tried to think of a list before the episode that was like, all right, I think of these like stock reasons that are more common. The first is being that she doesn't fly like she used to.
Yep.
And that is I would say that's probably, if it's not number one, it's number two. And that is, we have a disc, we bring it into our bag, we love it. It flies really great for a while, and then it just gets flippier than we anticipated it being, or it just never seasons. Like that's usually the case. It never gets flippier or gets to that beautiful state that we were looking for.
Right.
Because I'm going to say that it's a different reason than number two, which would be it didn't fly like I wanted it to.
Right.
So it doesn't fly like it used to, and it doesn't fly like I wanted it to. Two vastly different reasons. Great example of this being when someone goes and watches Calvin Heinberg throw an eagle. I want to put an eagle in my bag.
Not even close.
This doesn't fly like that at all.
Right.
Like, what are we doing? And so you're frustrated and you're kicking yourself for that. And I think this can happen on a world where you have the ozone. I wanted it to fly like a diamond. I wanted to support a friend. I wanted to do this. It doesn't fly like it did. And then you even have the lift in that same conversation of it didn't fly. It doesn't fly like it used to. It's getting on the flippy side. So I think both of these valid reasons to pull a disc out of the bag. I think the top one where it's like seasoned in, I would always ask the question of, is there still a slot for it? Could you adjust other things to include it? Because I'd rather have a seasoned relationship in my bag than a fresh one. But there are people that disagree with that and they stand on the opposite side. Like most famously, the person who has made the most public debate against what we say here on the channel was Bedanza when he mentioned like way back in the day. I would be really curious to talk to Bedanza now, because I feel like he made that really bold statement of like, I hate mold minimalization. I think it's dumb. His words, not ours, guys. And like he made that statement pretty early on in his disc golf career. I would be really, really curious to see what he thinks now. Like if he still holds the same stance on mold minimalization, or if he sees kind of the beauty of it now that he's like throwing farther and crushing it. Like dude's great at disc golf. So if he's great at disc golf and he's still holding that opinion, I would love to
understand
see the other side of the coin.
Right.
Of how do you build trust with the discs that are coming in and out? Because people do it, obviously. So I think that's two major reasons. I would say third reason that really jumps to me as like why discs come in and out of the bag. Pretty obvious. You lost it.
Yeah. Right.
So I had a Griffin disc. I had a Vader that I really loved, and I chucked it into the drink.
Right.
Ugh, you're forced into that. Any other reasons? Those are my three major ones that I feel like people most commonly come to. I'm really excited in the comments for people to like give reasons like outside of that. But how about you, Brad? Like anything that jumps to mind outside of those three that you're like, oh, I hear people like switch discs out for this all the time.
Yeah, I think. Well, it's funny because on my disc RPM, I would say it's a fringe reason, but ones you gave away, like because there's I know you do this, I did this, so like I even have a little section as I was kind of altering my bag to make sure it was accurate for this episode. But you know, my vulture, like the vulture, the yellow one, I always talk about. Like took a family member out. They're just learning to play and has a wicked forehand, just is kind of turning it over a little bit. And I was like, here, throw this. And like the next 3 holes, he threw it so well on. I was like, just take it away. It's my baby. Take good care of her. So there, like, that's the reason also. I think like, this kind of maybe goes in like the beat in category or like doesn't fly like she used to category, but like, you hit a tree and you like taco, it's like unusable. I think that's another one. Or you have a DX disc and it finally hits that rock and has a gash in it. And you're like, it's not that it doesn't fly like it used to, just I can't throw it.
Damage.
Damaged disc. I think that's probably one. The other final like fringe reason because I think there's like, we'll combine these two into one is it's sentimental. I aced with this. It's getting beaten. I'm worried I'm going to lose it. It's time for the shelf or the wall. I think that's one. I had one I was going to combine with that. I think that's all kind of one, or like it's like a collectible one, and you're like, or someone dies it, or something happens. Yeah, I think sentimental, time for the shelf, or you just ace with it. You're like, time for the shelf. I got to put a new one in.
Yeah, like for instance, if I don't know what angle Silas has this on, but right now I know we can see it. Is that this disc right here is from my boy Paul Kranz. Love that guy to death. It's his first signature with MVP, or like special edition disc with MVP.
Yeah,
and I love him to death. But it will move up higher when Precious Child retires. Precious Child will end up on this bottom row. It has to.
For sure.
But there's still some time for that being there. But eventually there's just going to be a moment where I'm like, I officially have Precious Child's backup ready. It's time to retire. I think that's a great fringe reason. Yeah. So
this right behind me, this row.
Yeah.
For you visual people, those are all special discs that I took out. Like I even have like my 1,000 rated zone up there. Because I was bagging it and throwing it for a long time, but I'm like, I'm getting a little bit more adventurous and I'm going to make a dumb decision. I'm going to throw it into the water eventually. And it's not to like flip or it's just because I think it's cool. It's a cool moment, cool disc. Yeah. It goes up there. I have some of my wife and kids like discs that they've like, I don't like this anymore. It's kind of special to me. So I like put it up there, So I think, retiring out of sentiment or whatever, I think is always a good reason.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the three discs that have left our bag most recently, and why they left the bag, and sort of what replaced them, what came on the other side, things like that. So I can go ahead and kick it off, Brad, if you want. So disc that left my bag recently was the Stalker.
Okay.
And so I love the Stalker. In fact, for this month's box, I'm not a Supra guy, but the rest of the box I loved. And the Supra flies incredible. So I'm not discrediting the Supra, but I chuckle because Trevor and I have like really similar tastes in discs.
Yeah.
And I said it in the video that came out Tuesday. Yeah, on Tuesday, talking about it, is that it's funny. Trevor and I have drastically different like natural angles that we like to throw on, and yet we both really love the same discs.
That's interesting.
The Stalker, love it to death. From my understanding, they didn't just discontinue the Z Stalker; they also discontinued the ESP Stalker as well. Like Stalkers are just done. And so for me, I want to be able to throw a disc that I know I can consistently be aggressive with and have replacements for. Like that's priority number one. And I guarantee you that you're going to listen to the later half of this episode and you're going to hear what I talk about as my last disc that's been replaced. And you're going to be like, what? I thought we said we wanted discs that are easy to replace.
Yeah.
Trust me, guys. The disc that I replaced, my third disc, is easy to replace. You just simply have to talk to basically any online manufacturer who bought the sets of these.
Yeah.
And they will pay you to take them.
Right.
It is, it's not a very popular disc. I don't know why. It should have been, but that's fine. So I replaced the Stalkers because, once again, manufacturer support. I think I had like probably 9 Stalkers to my name, but 2 of them were already really seasoned and really straight. And so finding like it, just thinking about longevity, I'm a person that I don't want to change my bag very often. Like I kind of enjoy that someone asked me if I was going to film it in the bag like earlier this year based on my in the bag last year. And it was like, I mean, I can, but so few discs actually changed.
Yeah.
It would be super boring because it would just be, oh, here they are. And now they all turn like 3 more degrees than they did last year type deal. So I replaced them with the Eagles because I love the Eagle. The Eagle is a mold that I come back to on a regular basis. I have an insane amount of Eagles. And I felt like with my beef that I have with Innova, I felt okay going back to the Eagle, and it has been so fun having the discs back in my bag. I have a Greg Barsby Tour Series from 2 years ago that is just such a beautiful flight. And I'm telling you, it is the disc that like it is the closest thing I have to how Calvin throws Eagles. Like that thing stands up, it turns, and then it crashes back at the end. Like it is so beautiful. And it is the disc that like when people see me step up on a hole and I pull that disc out, they're like, gosh, why did Robbie have to bring that disc back? Like we liked when he did not. The competitors enjoyed when I did not have that disc in my bag, and it just shows the comfort side of it. Like I love Stalkers. I threw Stalkers extremely well. I had so many great moments with the Stalker, so I'm grateful that the manufacturers like. I'm sad that Stalkers are going away. Yeah. But I also am completely content with the Eagles. I think that there's a billion of them out there. And I have a lot of Eagles. It feels really great in the hand. So this was one that I loved the option I have. Circumstances outside of me forced me to change.
Yeah.
And so I just went back to comfort, which worked out really, really well.
Yeah. So I think first one I'm going to talk about is the inner core. The inner core it seems to come in and out of my bag for that like understable putter shot. Like in the woods, I need to hit a line, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. Number one, I like the inner core. Jesse's a friend. Try to support that. It's not that I even dislike the disc. It does exactly what I want it to. I think I felt like I was doing it just so I didn't do like the season in envy, like barrage. And I think I was doing that to just be like, I always go back and forth on how I feel on the Griffin disc, as we call it here on the podcast. But like, do I want to rely on that or do I not? And here, I think with the envy, I kind of landed on Electron envies are not super hard to find ever. They're always in and out of our use bin because people, and I love that people do the work for me and beating them in, and like you'll find the correct one. So I know I can start with like an Eclipse Envy or a Proton, like this Eagle like Rebirth one. That's my overstable, like Envy's Envy, if you will. It just does Envy stuff, and then I have like an Electron Firm Envy that is like mid-cycle, so it goes straight but still has the overstability at the end. And then you find, like you can see, like a little bit of warping on this one, but then another electron firm envy that's really gotten beat up, or eventually this pink one becomes that flip up and turn envy. Again, that's not what an envy is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But so I think that's where I always got hung up. Like, okay, envy is not really supposed to be that disc, so why am I trying to make it that disc? But I like knowing, like, I love the envy, feels so good in my hand. I throw them so well, no matter how they like what variation of the flight it's in. It just seems silly to just like have an inner core in there for the same shot. I know I can throw just as well, if not better, with a Griffin envy, just for the sake of like a principle, I guess. That's really why I felt like I didn't do that. So, and then again, another factor as well is like the Pro Bag prototype we're testing, and now I can put 6 putters in the top, which is great. So like that also makes me feel a little bit better. But yeah, I think I took it out because even though I know I throw that inner core really well, there's plenty of video evidence of me throwing it really well on those like straight to turnover type shots in the woods.
Yeah.
There's like a little bit of doubt when I pick it up, because I'm like, well, everything else throwing putter wise is an envy for me. I'm going to this other thing. Remember, it's a little deeper. Remember this, remember this, remember this. And like, I don't know. I'm not good enough to have all that confusion going on in my head. I just want to pick it up and be like, all right, this one's overstable, this one's straight, this one's understable. What shot do you need? Okay, that one, throw it. That's what I need to. So that's why the inner cores kind of come out of my bag. So I guess if we're putting a reason, did we put trust as a reason?
Yeah, I don't know that we put it like entirely as its own category, but I would say it's definitely a spinoff. But I mean, I think it could be its own category. Is I can't trust it anymore. I feel like that's kind of like the marriage between it didn't fly how I wanted it to, and it doesn't fly like it used to.
Yeah,
it doesn't fly like it used to. I don't trust it anymore because it's doing too much or too little, whatever. And then, or I wanted it to be this super straight, the Eclipse X. I wanted it to be this super straight disc that fades, and it's just super straight. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, definitely. And it's not that the inner core can't be trusted. If I was like picking probably one, if I was taking one woods disc out, like I had to pick like one throwing putter, I always seem to come back to that. And even if we draft it, I'll draft it because I know how I can throw it. But in like my normal game, when I have the choice between like envies and inner core, I want just that envy that kind of flips up or goes straight and turns kind of disc. And I think it's the amount of like power I can throw with it too. Like I don't have to back off power on an envy to get it to turn, whereas the inner core is more of like a smooth. So it's probably like more of a me problem than anything. But the inner core definitely, you have to have like a little element of like smoothness with it. So
yeah,
inner core, first one out. Sorry, Jesse.
Yeah, no, I think, and it makes sense to me. I feel like you mentioned it as well, but like you're playing a little more than you have been in a while, but I would still not say that you're playing like a crazy amount right now. And so if you're not playing that often, it gets real hard to build that trust and relationship with discs.
Yeah.
If I'm actually not like playing much. So that makes total sense to me.
Okay.
Here for it. So my disc that came out, actually, I'll kind of go on the converse here, is that my Origin left my bag recently.
Wow.
And so the reason my Origin left my bag, it's sort of twofold, is that, like Brad mentioned, we like to give away discs. I cannot keep an Origin in my bag for a long time because I meet beginners on the course. I meet people playing for the first time, and the first disc that I pull out of my bags, I just give them the Origins that I have.
Yeah.
Like if I were to walk downstairs and you were to be like, "Oh, Robbie, how many Origins do you own currently?" Literally 2. I have a pink in the bag Origin because if we want to talk about branding, whatever, things like that, like I have to have that one. And then I have a Kyle, why am I playing Kyle? Yeah, Kyle Klein.
The Night Prowl.
Midnight Prowl 2.
Or Midnight Prowl, yeah.
That is the like overstable one.
Yeah.
It doesn't really fly like a Origin. So Yeah, that exact run. Super beautiful. They're really fantastic. I love the Origin a lot. I just kept giving them away and having to start the process over again on, okay, time to put a new freshie in. And so I was doing that over and over again. And I never could get an Origin to like be the flippiest thing possible. Like it's funny, the Origin that Jason talks about that used to be my Origin, the blue one.
Yeah.
A great example of that. Like I seasoned it into being like this beautiful, I love how it flies, here we go. And that's not me saying like, oh yeah, I wish Jason would give it back to me. It is literally I love that. I love that I have the opportunity to be able to give someone like a new player this fresh disc for them to really crush with. It wears on you over time of like finding that disc over and over again. Right. So I actually pulled the Origin out and I put, because I had the Origin and then I was trying to have like something even flippier. And then I tried 2 Origins for a little while and I just really struggled. So what I've done is I put 2 Dunes in the bag.
There you go.
Now the Dune is not as flippy as the Origin, I would say, off the shelf. I would say it's
very straight.
Yeah, very, very straight. It might be even like pretty close to a 5.5 -1/1. And it goes really, really far. I don't understand how Jesse does it, but truly one of the only mids that I've ever thrown that I feel like actually compares to the Hex in terms of glide and distance potential is the Dune.
Yeah.
Like they fly so similar to me. That's why the Hex got pushed out of my bag originally, is because Dunes existed.
Yeah.
So I have 2 Dunes in the bag now. I have a purple one that is really, really seasoned. I actually got this purple one and it's been in and out of the bag throughout when I got it. But I got the purple one, I want to say within like the first 2 or 3 months that I was with Foundation. I've owned it that long.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was shortly after.
Yeah. So I've had a purple one for a long time. And then when the Dune got released, Jesse had this, like, they laughed because I think they called it like freshly sourced organic salmon or something like that. They don't have, it's a joke that I have with Jesse is I legitimately don't know what the title of the color is because I know that salmon is in there and I'm pretty sure organic is in there. But
fresh caught salmon.
There you go. Yeah. Like, see, in my mind, it's one of those like, oh, you have 2 ways of pronouncing a word, but you don't know which one's the right way to pronounce it. But every time you try to like auto adjust, you had the right one and you picked the wrong one type deal.
Yeah.
So this salmon one. So then my friend Brian Moon, who is a listener to the show, supporter, love that guy to death. Brian dyed an owl on my Dune recently on that salmon Dune. So my salmon Dune, I'm throwing a lot less because it's my straight Dune and my somewhat overstable Dune. And then the purple one, I'm just throwing a lot to try to season it in, and it has a nice amount of flip to it now, which is fantastic. So like, I think about if I'm playing New London, hole 1, if I'm playing Worlds New London, I can throw the purple one pretty comfortably on a decent amount of Hyzer and watch it stand up and not worry about it turning all the way over. I probably would overcompensate for that Hyzer if we're playing like hardcore London, or classic. So I would want that one to like push, but then like fresh caught salmon, I could easily throw on hole 3 and watch it just turn the whole way over because it has a little bit of hook to it. And then the other thing that like slightly helped make this easier is we talked about the pro bag having room. I actually put a sole in my bag.
Oh geez. That's a go ahead. Sorry.
It's a blast, dude. That disc is so fun. Like it is the sole, for those of you who don't know, Discraft, one of their most slept on discs. It is a 4.5 -3.0. Y'all, it is all the fun that I had with my ESP Stings in a mid range. Like, I love that my ESP Stings, I could yam on those things on a ton of Hyzer and they would stand up and then even turn a little bit for me. And the Soul is just an easier way to do that. So like my friends have made fun of me because I will take the wackiest lines with my Soul. And it's like, yeah, let's go, dude. So I really enjoy having that one, and that made losing the Origin a little bit better. So this is for me a case of just a giving it away. And
you got tired of it. That was probably not a section we really had. You just kind of got tired of it.
Yeah, got tired of it, wanted different options, and I actually, to replace what the idea of what that disc was, had to replace it with 2 bolts.
Yeah.
Which I do think, like, if you have room in the bag, can't happen.
Mm-hmm. Most fun wins, I hear. Just for your reference, the Dune released on July 10th, 2023, to give you kind of a timeline of where that happened.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I got that purple one very, very early on in Dune releases, and being friends with Jesse also helps and getting stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, apparently the soul makes me like stutter and my brain break, but I just have like very like hard memories with the soul, and it was just I tried it too early on. I didn't know what I was doing, so there's some trauma probably there. Anyway, so that brings me to my second disc, which might shock people. My second disc is the Vulture. I just think I'm tired of it.
I am shocked.
I think that's why I kind of like because part of me is like I can't believe I gave away that yellow one. It started with she doesn't fly like she used to. That's where it started, and it because like the perfect my favorite hole to throw that yellow Vulture on was hole 16 at Timbrook, and I would throw it like super wide, and I would throw it super wide on Hyzer. It would like kind of almost stand up for me, and then it would just like take that nice Vulture dive and just skip up to the bottom of the basket. Well, it started getting like way straighter, so I ended up just like throwing it out into that field basically, and have like I'd throw a pin high or longer, and then have like a 60-foot putt. So again, not a great reason, but just like that's a example of where it was. It's not super comfortable for me to throw in forehand because I was like, oh, maybe I'll shift it over to like that kind of thing. And like, I don't know, it just becomes more of like a wind fighter or more utility type of disc or a specific shot. Where I do love to throw it is the next hole at Timbrook, hole 17. I throw it high over that hill and skip it down to the basket. I think, were you here? Did you see that? Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if it was in a video or at doubles or something, but I don't know. I just don't know about that slot. I don't throw it a whole lot, and I'm just kind of tired of throwing it. So what I'm actually kind of thinking of is like taking Vultures out completely, even taking this Firebird out, and just do Raptors. So so a little slower, right? Probably a little bit more usable, and might cover like I might be able to have like overstable Raptor for more of like the utility that I want. But I also have some seasoned in Raptors that I used to throw all the time that I probably could throw way better now. And just me being a hot guy, I kind of like the Raptor thing. So I don't know, just a thought, but I think the Vulture, it was a don't fly like they used to that made me kind of get tired or bored with them. And as I throw more like fairways and control drivers, like the Vultures is kind of sitting in the background of that control driver gateway into distance driver kind of territory for me. And I'm throwing stuff maybe a little faster too, just to try, like the Strive, for example. And I think that Strive is kind of like, I can throw the Strive farther than the Vulture, even though it's a 13 speed. And like, it doesn't seem like I should be able to throw the Strive, but I throw it pretty well. So it's kind of actually kind of pushed the Vulture into the background too. So I think that's why the Vulture is kind of like, I still have a Z Jawbreaker Flex one in there right now because I'm not completely sold on like getting rid of the Vulture. It's been a staple for a long time for me, but I can foresee even in the coming weeks, maybe it getting kicked out.
Yeah. It's, I feel like those 10 speed, like control drivers can be a real pain point for a lot of people. And like, I think another reason the disc comes out of the bag is you just don't use it. Like as an extra reason of, you know what, like I just never find myself getting to that disc. And so if I don't find myself getting to that disc, is it because I don't trust it? Is it because whatever? And sometimes there's just not even really like a reason. You're just like, I just throw other discs better. And so for me, pulling a disc out and putting in one, like putting in a backup of something that you do like to use a lot, actually feels like a better use of the bag space, because let's say you fall in love with the strive. Awesome. Okay. You're using the strive more and more and more. Putting a second strive in there instead of that vulture. And then when you step up, even on a strive shot, if it's a casual round and you throw that strive shot and you're like, oh, that was bad, you can instantly go back, grab another strive and throw it. Even though it's like just holding a place. That's where my ozones are at, is that like I have 2 ozones in the bag and one of them very rarely gets thrown.
Yeah.
Because I'm actively working to season. Same thing with the dunes, honestly. Actively working to season them in. But on situations where I'm like, oh, that wasn't it, I can just walk right back, grab the same disc and throw it, and it just helps build that confidence.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
Fast. So my third disc is the one that we've teased. We talked about. My video about this drops next Tuesday, so definitely go check it out because it's wild. I play at my same place that I do pig trials, and in 9 holes on a pitch and putt, this beat my pig by I think 2 strokes, including some egregious putting errors with me putting with it. And that is the Zone GT is officially in the bag.
Wow.
It is good, and it's in the bag.
That's awesome.
So pigs, my in the bag, my if it's good pig is straight now because welcome to what pigs do. It pops out of the hand, goes really straight, and then just a little fade at the end, which is what straight pig is supposed to do. So if it's good pig has shifted into the straight slot, and Zone GT is in the top end. It's fascinating because the Zone is just more overstable than a pig. I will call it as it is. I would say the Haley King pigs are the Haley King pigs and the Ricky pigs, not the Bradleys. The Haley Kings and the Rickies are about as overstable as like a stock Z Zone off the rip, but they're base plastic, so they're going to season in a lot faster. So I've really been enjoying this. I would say the shot that the Zone has brought out, the Zone GT specifically, the ringer top, the correct top, I would say that I'm salty at the universe for picking the banger top, and nobody throws the banger. That's not true. Some people do, but very few people actually throw the banger top Zone. If you question that, just ask any retailer that sells Zone GTs. And I promise you they have. Now, conversely, I did say, hey, some of you were like, oh, you don't want to throw the Stalker because it was discontinued and blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, Discraft knows what they have on their hands, and they have not officially said that they're never going to release it. And like the Zone GT ringer top has been around for less than a year, and it actually already had a run made by Discraft for Worlds.
Right, yeah.
So I have no doubt it will be a Ledgestone pickup for sure. Like they will run them in some crazy Crystal Flex, whatever. Like I know that's going to be the combo, ABB. Like Ledgestone's going to pick it up one time, and they're going to run Crystal Flex, like Go
Glow.
Wacky.
Yeah.
Crystal Flex Glow, Go Wacky, Z Flex, or whatever. Yeah. Ringer GT zones. So really enjoy it. But the shot that has been the most fun to throw with that disc, and y'all, it's just the pigs are super reliable. They flew really great. I love pigs. Pig is love, pig is life. I know that the comments are going to roast me in that video about like, this man got a pig tattoo and he's already like, he's moved on. This is why we don't get tattooed, ladies and gentlemen. First off, boo. I love the pig, and I don't think that this is like a permanent thing to the bag. I don't think.
Sometimes you got to have fun, especially when you're making content.
Exactly. And if Innova just decides that to like publicly declare, we do actually hate our people, which, you know, that's how the pig farming community feels, is all right, cool. Like, that's fine. I'll hang on to this for a little while then. But the pig always will have a special place in my heart. So this is my disc golf tattoo, like through and through. When I think disc golf, I think pig, and I will always feel that way. So that's my tattoo defense for the comments.
Yeah,
I'm not going
okay.
to respond to any comments on that video about it. But yeah, so I'm here for that. I'm here for that defense. But dude, flex forehand approaches,
fun,
dirty. Like it's so easy to just land so soft with a flex forehand approach. And it's like, oh, there's a tiny little gap there. All right, cool. Like, oh, this is a cheeky backhand gap that I would have to hit. Or I could just pull a little flex forehand zone through that gap. Bada boom, bada bing, I'm under the basket. So it's really, really fun. It's been great. My biggest complaint that I have with zones is they're too shallow, and I realized it was a grip issue that I was doing. I was trying to grip it the same. I had a shallow grip on my deep pigs, and that's how I was able to just blast those things. And so then I had that shallow grip on a shallow putter in the zone. So I just tightened my grip a little bit. Money.
Okay.
Money.
You heard it here. You heard it here. No, I think that, I don't know, there's something kind of fun about throwing an unusual disc too. You know, don't make a whole bag out of them.
Yeah.
You know, that's my shade I'm throwing at Christian, who works here. Don't make a whole bag out of weird discs. No one wants to be that guy.
Don't be the Binks guy.
Yeah. Don't be the Binks and the Sea Otter and the Juju guy. But it is fun to throw like a weird disc. I don't know that I have a weird disc in my bag currently though, but I would. Well, the body, or the Berg as us US folks call him. But hey, I've been thinking about putting that in, Robbie, though. Speaking of weird discs and wanting to put stuff in, that touchy like no glide, but I looked at on my shelf and I've got an armadillo. Do I come back? Does the armadillo guy come back?
No. Don't do it, Brad. Don't do it.
Hey, it's basically a ringer top, so
it is. I would rather you bag a Berg than the Dillo, and the Dillo lovers are going crazy in the comments here right now.
Yeah.
I'm a polecat lover, so I understand. I understand weird. Like I'm here for weird, but
I just want something fun. And
Trevor's throwing the Berg right now.
I know, and Jason throws the Berg really well. Jason's the person who made me want to throw the Berg. Actually, he did, but videos that will be coming out in October and November for the game show. There's a gentleman there that will make you fall in love with the Berg very quickly. So no spoilers there. All right, last disc before I talk about the Berg more than we need to again. The Evader, you mentioned it earlier, Robbie.
Yeah.
If you, again, in the gifted section, the Evader has been gifted. Who I gave it to, don't remember. Oh, I gave it to Eli. Was playing a youth tournament, and there was a young lady that was in the FJ12 division that was just throwing super well. And she was trying to throw this leopard on forehand, and she has more of like an Annie forehand, and it just was giving her all kinds of fits. And I'm like, hey, I got a disc for you. And she threw it and was throwing it amazing. So I gave that to her. And I think I said it, I don't remember which episode. It was a recent episode, but I've had an issue where I don't go to the Evader anymore. I don't have any confidence there. So again, I think that's where all these things are playing together. Like I'd go up to the Vulture typically for that type of shot if I needed like overstay that yellow Vulture, but then it kind of got to where I didn't trust it. And the Evader, I don't know what it was. It just never like, I would throw it really well. I don't know. I just never grabbed it for whatever reason. And it just seemed like it was just holding a spot. Like it was like, okay, well, I need a couple extra discs to throw in here, so I'll leave the Evader in there. But the disc that really changed that, and the reason the Evader's like gone is the Edug. So spoilers, Connor and I have reignited the disc review channel on Foundation, so keep an eye out for that. And we just did a review on that disc yesterday. And I already had it in my lineup to put in the bag to mess with. That is exactly what I was looking for. Because sometimes with the Evader, it's not like I'll get zero turn with the Evader when I throw it. It's just more of like a straight with a pushing Hyzer for most of the flight. The Edug, I actually threw so far. You'll see it in the last shot of the review because we did.
Let's go.
we did a segment I don't know if this segment's actually going to be part of the actual review, but we'll see what Connor cooks up. But we do a stress test or a torture test, and we slammed it on some tee pads, threw it into some trees, all that, and then threw it. And so, Robbie, this means something to you, listeners. I'm sorry if this doesn't mean anything to you, but hole on at Timbrook, hole 2's tee pad.
Okay.
We were standing there because we were like, okay, we'll throw it out into the field. We're not going to get it anywhere. There's no one playing. So I threw it. I parked in the library parking lot. I threw it to my truck, like within 10 feet of my truck from 2's tee pad. Twice, like consistently, because I threw it again later. So I'm like, it went all the way up under the hill into like where the gravel is. So
dude, that's dirty.
I was like, what the heck? Yeah, Connor literally was like, what the heck? He's like, you're kind of huge. I'm like, no, I'm not, but something clicked. But I think what it is it has like that, because it did turn for me. It's like the E-Dug is like a negative 0.52. So I could actually feel the turn. It probably is a little less overstable or has a little more turn than indicated, because Connor got some more turn out of it too when he threw it, because he throws obviously further than me. So, but yeah, I mean, it's sneaky, but it's exactly what I want, because it still has that stability at the end that I know I'm never going to like turn it too much, or I'm never going to roll it. So we'll see how it seasons in. We'll see how it plays out, but it kind of kicked the Evader out. So the Evader's coming out more of like, it just wasn't really the disc I think I was looking for. At the time it was, because it was a 7-speed that I could throw decently far that had overstability, but it just slowly, like, I threw it less and less and less and less. I will caveat with a lot of what I'm saying is I don't play a whole, and again, I've been playing more courses lately, but I don't play a ton of courses, at least this year so far, being I have an 18-month-old who's 18 months old now, but it's like Timbrook or Peaks View or like my home course. So it's like I wasn't playing a ton of bigger courses or other courses, but the last weekend I played, or 2 weekends ago, I played Falling Creek. I played, I don't know, I played some other course as well. But anyway, yeah, I'm playing different courses as well. Hideaway. So like playing different courses too, and like mixing it up is also like, again, highlighting some holes or places of conflict or discs I really don't trust or need anymore. So I think the Evader kind of went in the category of like, just didn't really like, it wasn't the disc I wanted it to be. It was an imposter.
Dude, that's I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see, just I hope that, because we probably won't get to play together at USDGC. That week's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see it in November.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we need. Comment below. Do you all want to see just a one-off video on the In the Bag channel, me and Robbie playing just some disc golf?
Yeah, just playing.
We've no challenge, just our normal bags, just playing disc golf.
Yeah.
And that would be fun.
Loser has to bag a Burke.
Yeah. No, loser has to bag, like, so you have armadillo on the line. You have to bag an armadillo.
Oh, gosh.
And then you can pick something obnoxious for me to bag as well, like a condor or something obscure like that. You wouldn't do that to me.
No, I definitely would not put a super class disc in there.
Yeah, that would make me very upset. So,
but before we dive in, I honestly, Brad, I'm looking at the time, and it always happens. Like I feel like we get chatting, and we realize, like, I loved this episode. I personally, I think this is like really, we had like a more normal feel, but also got a little theory in there, so a little 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
But we've talked about a lot of discs that move in and out of our bags, and we want people to find slots and things that they can use for their bag. So we want to throw a word to our sponsors real fast, throw a quick little spot in here, and then head to what's new in the warehouse.
Sounds good to me.
Let's do it. All right, enjoy this word, y'all.
So we're back, and warehouse is popping this week, as the kids say. It is fire, as the kids say. We have quite a few things. We have the biggest Clash stocking of all time in Foundation history.
Wow.
I mean, we have literally every single mold and almost every single plastic.
Come on.
So we have a ton. All the classics you love, berries, peaches, wild honey, butters, butter boy here speaking, mints, cinnamons, vanillas, lotus, like all the things. But what I'm excited about is we now have some molds that are either pretty new or new to us, right? So we have like tone guavas, which are fun.
Understable, yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. We have the prototype steady swirl millet, which very understable. Connor and I did a review of that, so check out the disc review channel as well. That'll be coming out soon. Let's see. We have the steady ring sage as well, like destroyer-ish for you destroyer folks. We have, let's see, what am I thinking? Stay sage mint. Let me look on my board. Cherry, the cherry.
Cherry's so good.
I've not thrown the cherry, but it looks looks origin-ish to me.
For sure.
So that looks fun. So cherry, sage, guava, millet, and I'm forgetting out, but recently restock's gonna be your best friend there. Like literally every single mold is in stock here. For most of it's dropping on the app now. It's already live, but a lot of it dropped at 5 p.m. So make sure you go back and check, because some of those molds have been in pretty high demand, and some I don't have a ton. Like the sage, we don't have a ton of those. So if you want to get your hands on that, make sure you do so. But plenty plastic variety. We have steady ring, hardy, softy, and a lot of the molds. So make sure you check all those out. There's also some House of Discs release this week. The stock Edug is actually stocked now. So if that sounded intriguing to you, make sure you check that out. Previously, we only had the couple we were allowed to sell in person retail. So we have the actual online stock now. They restocked the Spore. So Spore's out there for all you Spore folks. Also, the Cenis, they re-released it without the thumb track or the thumb pads on it. So it's an opto and in medium hard. Or zero medium, I'm sorry. So zero medium. So that is it's like a 2302 or something like that. So like NV type disc if you're a latitude person. That should be interesting. And then we also have the Agent they released in classic plastic as well. And I'm hoping this is true. I found a random sleeve of Robbie C Wizards, Robbie, that were put back for USDGC. However, we're going to have something special cooking for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put those online this week too. So we have a restock of Robbie C Wizards. So make sure you check those out. Also, Prodigy released several Isaac Robinson like commemorative championship discs that look incredible. There's like an F3 that has, which Trevor said is a very slept-on disc. I think you feel the same way, don't you, Robbie? The F3.
F3's pretty fantastic.
It's like a stained glass window design. Prodigy has some sick artwork. I'll say that. A2 has like this cool like guy sitting on a throne, like the 2-time world champion. A2. They did some fractal glow PA3s, which are really good, and then some D1s with like a ghost Isaac Robinson stamp in the background. So very cool discs there. We just restocked our Performance Dad Trucker hats, so make sure you check out those if you're waiting for those to come back in. And our Performance Dad hats are also restocked. We've got a ton of like on-hand apparel as well. So any of the comfort collar shirts that you see, that's in hand, will ship with your order. So make sure you check all that stuff out as well. Oh, last thing is Mint. There are the Apex Bobcats that I mentioned, Sublime Jackalopes. There's also tacos with a Freetail stamp, which is confusing but also fun. So we teased some of that in the last episode, but just want to make sure that it getting overlooked with all the MVP drops that are pre-release drops that happen. So a lot of good stuff cooking in the warehouse. A lot of ingredients to cook up a great bag, if you will, with Clash. Yeah. So take that, pun. And hey, there's a lot of good stuff. Make sure you check it out, foundationdisc.com. Use the app. Again, if it's a new disc that you want to try, don't forget about Foundation Care. If you're like, man, the Sage seems like it's, or the Edug, for example, I heard Brad talk about it. It sounds amazing. It's what I want to do it. You get it. It's like, it's not the disc I really wanted it to be. That's okay. You hit up support. Jason will get your return label, and you can get credit for a disc that you know and love. So make sure you check that out. Risk-free. If it's good,
Hey, keep it in the bag, baby.
And
we'll
we'll
see you guys for 121.